Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, hit that like button. Comment down below. Let me know if you're a big fan of Takeoff, Migos, or if you down in Houston. Let me know where y'all from. Let's get officially right into it, man. They just got the second and third suspects on the whole Takeoff thing. Lil Cam ended up telling a lot. I told you guys they was going to crack him under pressure. But basically what happened is that the dude that Lil Cam got a ride with coming to the whole bowling alley that the Migos were showing up to, they got the invitation a couple days before. And so what they was doing was that they was planning, they was plotting, they were going to figure out what Cadillac truck they were going to drive there. They're figuring out if they're going to take the Tahoe or the GMC truck. They called a lot of people. They kind of met in the Fifth Ward and they were like, okay, it's going down tomorrow. It's the big party. We're going to need Lil Cam and we're going to need Big Pat. So they had Big Pat and Lil Cam decide that they was going to ride with each other. And so this is where they all get tied in the mix. It was Lil Cam, Big Pat, and like two other dudes that showed up with them, right? And once they got to the bowling alley, their whole mission was to just act cool, really just stay in the background and just watch the whole time, because they knew that they weren't going to make their moves until the end after the dice game. So what they were supposed to do was they're supposed to instigate, wait for this person to instigate and distract with the arguments. And then what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to creep out of the shadows of the woodworks and run up on Quavo and Takeoff, and they were supposed to try to like do something, snatch a chain, whatever, right? And so what you got to understand is that when they had caught Lil Cam just last week, they told him they want to know, the most important question is, who did you come there with? Who actually gave you a ride to show up to the party, to the bowling alley and everything? And so once they started breaking him down, asking all those questions, put him on the hot seat, they finally got their answer, because Lil Cam was looking at 200 years. So he finally squealed and he said, hey, he's like, I came there with Big Pat. They're like, who's Big Pat? And so they drove Lil Cam around the Fifth Ward and had they had him point out who Big Pat is. And that's how they got the guy Pat, man. He's the one that actually did it, is what they're saying, allegedly. And so that's what they got him for. They got both of them, and they still looking for a third person. And who knows, they're going to ask questions with the guys that argued too, because they're going to want to know what the argument was fully about, exactly what was said, who was the one that started it, because they have to put that into consideration as part of the argument, like the whole verbal dispute back and forth. So now for Lil Cam, for him to get less time, he had to tell. So he told on his buddy, Big Pat. Now, when they rode Lil Cam around Fifth Ward and they saw Big Pat and he rolled the window down and pointed at him, Big Pat was walking down the sidewalk. He had just left the corner store. He had his bag of like $10 worth of chips and like a couple things here and there, right? Some whatever, right? So they were like, the last thing he saw was the window rolled down in this truck and the SUV, and Lil Cam sticks his finger out the window and he says, that's him, get him. And that's when the feds swept in. They came down, helicopters came out of the sewer drains and literally like basically got Big Pat under control. And they took him in and they started asking him heavy questions like, why did you go with Lil Cam that day? How much did they pay you? Why did you do it? Did somebody hand you the blick or this and that? So now they got like what's considered to be the guy that did it. And so they're like really, really, getting everybody. They must have threw the book at them to get them to tell on each other, because that's the only way they were going to do it. Otherwise, these dudes knew that there was the way they were going in life, it was going to end up like this anyways, where they're going to have to do like lots and lots of years, right? So at the end of the day, they told so that they could get whatever, maybe even they had some reward money to give out for them to tell them. And so, but at the end of the day, they got them to break. And when they got them to break, they got a second person and a third person, the getaway driver, the getaway car. It's so many people that they only had one guy really. And then now the thing is that they're gonna probably try to go and have Big Pat and Lil Cam. They're gonna try to have them tell on Migo bands and say that Migo bands was trying to get them. And so the whole thing never ends. And so now it's like, now Migo bands has to go, and if he probably don't want to talk, but he's gonna have to figure out, okay, what are they saying about him? What do they got on him? Because they're gonna throw him in the mix. The people said in Houston that they was trying to get everybody for it, and now you got MobTies looking like they sweating right now. They're like, okay, what does Lil Cam and Big Pat know? Because if they get Big Pat to say anything on MobTies, that's going to be a bad look for him. It's already a bad look for Houston. But what they're going to do is basically they have to be hiding right now. They probably vacationing somewhere far away so that they don't have to, think about it too much. But at the end of the day, though, they sitting back watching and they like, man, that Pat dude and that Lil Cam dude, they better not say anything, because even if they say like they went to their party or whatever, that they're gonna want to talk to them. And who's to say they didn't already talk to Junior? They didn't already talk to Jazz and them, because they the ones who threw the party. In the QC, the dudes who own QC or whatever, who work at QC, they're saying that Junior and Jazz gotta answer to this. They have to say something. They gonna have to basically has some type of response to where people are looking at him like, why did you guys throw this party? It makes you guys look like y'all set it up. And so that's what a lot of people are looking at them, not just Houston, but coming out of Atlanta. And they looking at MobTies and they saying, man, why did y'all people have beef with Quavo and Migos to begin with? Why did y'all have them check in just to argue with them anyways at the end of it? Why are you involving them and this and that? And like, there was a certain point to where it's like, okay, y'all knew what was going down and the direction things could have went in, and they were your guest, checked in to you. So why are you over here arguing with the people that checked in with you? And so QC was saying that that's not going to do anything but make people not want to check in or hang out with Jazz Jr. or MobTies or anything. Think about why Finesse Two Times left them. Finesse Two Times thought at first they were cool because they showed up on his first day out. But then now, after only maybe a couple weeks, a couple months at the most, he distanced from them. He's not hanging around them anymore. He's just doing what he has to do from the agreement he signed with them, saying that he was going to do this show, that show, this bash and that bash. And he ain't think that. He didn't know what he was getting into. And so why do you think now he don't hang out with them? The same exact reasons. They try to probably get him too. A lot of people are saying that this ain't the first time something that happened with MobTies being around having a dice game the day of or the day before. Y'all got to remember what happened to Duke the Jeweler, man. Condolences to Duke, condolences to Takeoff, condolences to Young Dolph. Like, you guys got to see this, that it's happening every time they do something. Every time they pop out, there's always something going on, especially when it's no show, no business being done. When they're having a party, that's when the guests are the people who got to pay up. Somebody's going to pay up. Somebody's going to get ran in the dice game, or somebody going to get ran up on, chain snatched, something comes up missing. It's always drama. It's always something that happens at the end of a MobTies party. If you haven't known by now, well, now you know, now you see it. It happened to Duke the Jeweler, happened to Takeoff, Migos, and so many other more people that we probably didn't even pay attention to at the beginning when this was all started. So at the end of the day, y'all got to look at it like this comes back in full circle, because Junior and Jazz, they sitting back watching like, what do? We should have never had that party. And they know this, and they know they should have never had to try to run people's pockets in dice games and have people arguing for them and having Lil Cam and Big Pat hanging around their parties, all for it to go like this. All for it to end up like this, man. It's crazy, this whole situation that they done got themselves into. There's nobody to blame but all of themselves individually. Like, they all contributed to the whole like thing for it to end up the way it happened. if they didn't throw the party, and if Quavo wasn't such a person who wanted to be in the limelight, and if Cam and these guys wasn't so hurting bad for a lick or a drill to do, it was so many things that had to be put in play for it. And then at the end of the day, the dice game with the argument, that's critical right there. The instigating a fight, picking the argument so that somebody gets the argument going, and then the distraction happens, and then out of the woodworks and out of the shadows, here come Lil Cam, Yellow Hoodie, the Pack guy, and all of them, and now they got. And so you see how there's no happy ending for nobody. So it's still condolences to Takeoff, the fam, everybody like that. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel if you already not, and like this video. Big breaking news coming out in the next video, so stay tuned, and I'm gonna catch you right then.